This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 at CDY. It's sponsored every week at this time, 8:30 a.m., or whenever you happen to be seeing it on YouTube, by Independent Bank. And we're talking about people making a difference in the community. And this is a return guest, Katie Huckle. We have Keith Newell here.
We do.
Who is the manager at the Wexford County Airport. And ever since Keith got hired on the job, you've been working really hard to upgrade things and make things even more exciting than they were before at the airport. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my third time, and I feel like I live here now.
Well, we love high-energy people, and we love people that make positive things happen in Cadillac, and there really is an energy at our Cadillac Airport. And I think that is directly related to you.
Well, thank you. I'd like to say it was, but it's really, I'm just the catalyst. It's the people of Cadillac from all different aspects coming together for different things that are going on. And I've just been delighted with what I've found here since I've come to Cadillac. It's a great community, and we're just keeping the ball moving forward at the airport and trying to bring as much value to the city of Cadillac and the county of Wexford that we can.
Before we get to the things that we want to talk about airport-wise today, what makes Cadillac to you? Because you're from Roscommon, so and that's where you live, but you've worked in multiple areas before. But what makes Cadillac so unique and a great place to be?
Well, it's not your big town. It's not your Grand Rapids or Detroit. It's not your little town. Mm-hmm. It's right there in the middle, and it's got all the great assets that you want to find in a community. It's in a rural area. We've got beautiful forestry, rivers, lakes. We've got everything that you would ever want from a natural resource standpoint. And then you've got this collection of people that have come together that are just doing great things. So I think it's unique for Northern Michigan on what it's doing with what it's got.
Ooh, I like that.
I do. You've got a list of things I think that you want to tick off one by one that we want to talk about here before we get to next weekend's big event at the airport. But tell us what's happening at Wexford County Airport.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about aviation and what's happening. Things are moving so fast in the industry, and it's more so than even in the automotive industry. The automotive, you're seeing electrification of cars, autonomous vehicles. Well, in the aviation industry, you're seeing similar types of things, but it's being used in different ways. So you're seeing electrification work its way into aviation. You're seeing things like air taxis. It's all this whole area is called advanced air mobility. And so air taxis is one portion of it. So pretty soon if you're going to fly out at Traverse City or Grand Rapids or Flint or Saginaw, you're going to go to the airport and get on an air taxi. It'll carry about 4 people, little drone type vehicle. It'll pick you up and off you go and drop you off.
So, in some ways, the Jetsons have come to life.
Totally.
Oh,
isn't that what you were?
I was just like, meet George Jetson.
We have Roombas.
Oh yeah.
We have Zoom meetings with people's faces on screens, and now we have this.
Yes.
Is boy Elroy.
I mean,
It
Yeah.
really is.
We really are there. If you look at everything that's taking place in Minnesota, they just passed a bill that said it's legal to drive flying cars on public roads. They're the second state in the nation to do that. New Hampshire was first. Well, if they're passing bills that say you can drive a flying car, there must be a reason behind it. And so they see what the future is. And there are flying cars already that have been produced and have been flying. They're not, I don't believe there's any sold commercially yet, but they're right on the verge. The air taxis, there's a company called Joby that's going to be building, they plan on building 500 air taxis in 2025 down in Dayton, Ohio. And they're just one of many. Boeing, Honda, you can go on and on with the list of companies that are trying to prepare for that marketplace.
This is fascinating to me because up to now, air travel, especially piloting and having your own plane and being able to fly was something that was reserved for the elite.
Right.
It seems to me like we're now people like Katie and me will be able to do this at some point.
Well, I wouldn't say it
Not
was
fly it
reserved,
ourselves, but
reserved for the elite.
Okay.
Because you look at you go through Wexford County Airport and you'll find a lot of Piper Cubs and old Cessnas and Pipers that date back to the 50s and 60s. So there were people like you and me flying these planes. And so now we're just taking advantage of the technology that lets us go the next step, which is the autonomous type of flying from point A to point B, avoiding all of the traffic. And so Amazon has already gotten approval to fly beyond line of sight for package delivery with drones. That line of sight has been a big thing about drones. You have to be able to see the drone to fly it through FAA regulations. Well, they're going beyond that now. They've gotten approved for that. And Walmart has already gotten approval and are doing drone deliveries, and they guarantee 30-minute delivery time from the time you order something. I believe it's down in Dallas where they're piloting that. So, and then there's the whole other end of the spectrum. There's companies that are preparing to produce hypersonic vehicles that'll go between 4,000 and 7,000 miles an hour. And they're getting ready to produce 33 of those type of aircraft a year. So we're going to see all sorts of things happening in the aviation area. And so we're at Wexford. We're just trying to be prepared for those things.
I love having you in here because I learn things all the time.
My mind is blown right now.
Yeah.
I feel like we're driving our vehicles around and the rest of the world is passing us by. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure Cadillac's part of that. You know, they're doing a lot of pilots with advanced air mobility down in between Ann Arbor and Detroit, and then across the river to Windsor. They're piloting different drone delivery type things. They're also doing those sorts of things up in Traverse City. So I keep raising my hand saying, hey, we would be a good place to go pilot. Send something from Traverse City to Cadillac, and will be part of what's going to happen in the future. We already have Martin Air, which comes here every morning from Lansing at around 7:30 and then back at 6:30 in the evening with packages that they carry for UPS. Well, the company, the Martin Air, was bought out by X-Wing, and X-Wing is working on making that vehicle, that aircraft, autonomous. So they've already done a flight over 800 miles for the military. So pretty soon you may be seeing the large Caravan aircraft flying from Lansing to Cadillac and back with no pilot.
Wow. Going back to the flying vehicles, and you said that in Minnesota these vehicles have been licensed to use state trunk lines. So are we going to eventually have a day when we are driving down US 131 and right above us on 131, X number of feet will be vehicles, air vehicles?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, today there's roughly 50,000 flights in the U.S. on a daily basis. I believe by 2030, they're estimating there'll be over 1 million flights per day. And that's because there'll be so many of these different autonomous, these drone flights, all sorts of different types of flights that'll be taking place. And so, yeah, you look over your house and you may see these flying cars buzzing by. But, you know, they're working on the regulations so that it's not a nuisance to the public. Then that's probably harder than the technology development.
It is interesting because, you know, back 100 years ago when radio stations were first going on the air, you had to have the Federal Communications Commission developed so that people weren't stomping all over each other. Mm-hmm. And this one was on a frequency and that one wanted that frequency. And so that one went on the frequency and then you had two fighting over a frequency. So it's kind of like the Wild Wild West unless this happens.
And what's interesting, and people think, well, the FAA is developing the regulations. It's actually NASA. They're the National Aeronautical and Space Administration. There's the aeronautical part, and so they're the ones that actually develop what the system will look like, and then it's up to the FAA to make sure they're regulating it properly.
So I know that this is so small-minded of me, but I'm an air traffic controller. And can you imagine? Air traffic control, you thought you were just in charge of X. Well, it'll look different, won't it?
It'll look different.
Okay.
And I'm sure, AI will play into it, all
Sure.
sorts of things. But I'm glad you brought up air traffic controller, because that is a great career for kids to go into. The educational requirements aren't as rigid as they are for a lot of the flying positions, and this jobs as an air traffic controller started at $156,000 and go up to $181,000 per year. Wow. So it's a great paying job. Now it's a mandatory retirement by the age 56. And that's because there might be a little stress involved with the job.
Right.
Where do people go?
He's laughing.
Where do people go college-wise to get trained to be an air traffic controller? Well, is there anyone within like a 100-mile radius of Cadillac that offers that kind of training?
Well, I believe the FAA does most of the training that they need on job. But that's a great question to come to Wings and Wheels and ask the FAA when you're there, because they will have a booth set up at the Wings and Wheels event.
Well, good. Can we talk about Wings and Wheels now?
We can.
Okay.
It's one of many things that we're doing.
Right. So Wings and Wheels is Saturday, August 24th. So 1 week from today. Tell us what's on deck. Tell us what we can experience at Wings and Wheels.
Okay. So the genesis of it, it's a pancake breakfast fly-in, which almost every EAA chapter across the country holds that type of event. They're called dawn patrols, where pilots get up early, fly to another airport, have a nice pancake breakfast, and then fly home. So that was the genesis of it. And then the board wanted to figure out, well, how do we make this more interesting for people? So they added the classic car show, which was really a nice event. They get all these classic cars, all sorts of kind. The muscle cars, the old antique cars, they get a little of everything. And so it's a great place just to look around at all the vehicles. Well, when I came on board, I thought, well, what can we do for aviation? So last year we started this, and we're continuing it this year. We have aviation career booths. So we had 21 organizations last year that sponsored a career booth. Everything from the U.S. Navy, Customs and Border Protection, the Air National Guard, Coletta, which a lot of people don't realize. Coletta is over in Oscoda. They do maintenance on 747 engines. They're one of 2 facilities in the world that does that type of maintenance. So if you go to Oscoda right now, you'll see about 24 747s parked on their ramp, and they'll say Air China, Deutschland Air, all different from all over the world. They come for this type of maintenance. We've got other organizations where kids can get more involved with the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association. Their chapters, the local chapters, will be having a booth. The Civil Air Patrol, all sorts of different. Michigan State Police will be there. So this year we've got almost all the same players, but we've added a few. We've got Prine and Newhoff, which is our engineering consulting firm. They're the ones that help design airports. And so I feel like they're a key part to the whole aviation industry. We have the National Weather Service. They're going to be having a booth. Who else did we add? We are trying to get a little of everybody. The one I'm very excited about, we got JetBlue. And that we got that by being down at the summer block party on Mitchell Street. Wow, we took an aircraft from the Wexford Airport. Actually, Cadillac Aircraft Services took the aircraft down there, and we had it on display the whole day for the block party. And this young lady came up to me and started talking to me about what she does. She would like to volunteer. And so I said, well, we have different things you could do. Then she said, well, I'm a captain for JetBlue.
No way.
So
awesome. I'm telling you, He shakes hands and kisses babies, this man.
So
Better than the other way around.
So
Right.
she is very excited. She talked to her management, and so she will be hosting a booth talking about what it's like to be an airline pilot for a major airline. And she brings that whole aspect that she's a woman
Right.
in this industry, which is great because there definitely is a need for more women to get into the whole aviation industry. And so
I hope Dave Mackey brings all of his students down because, Dave and I work together at the CTC. I don't see him with all that many female students in his class.
No, and it's an interesting point because I went to his class a few times for various things, and there aren't. There's usually the young men that are in those classes, and I just came from the airport where two young women were taking their check rides with a designated examiner. And so it's so nice to see that women are finally getting into this and taking it as a real good career path. But we need to publicize that more. The young girls today, I don't think they're aware of it. And that's the whole purpose of Wings and Wheels, is to raise the awareness level of young children on what are the different options in aviation. What are the different types of aviation? Because we have about 8 or 9 different types of aviation taking place at the airport. We have business aviation, you have medical transport aviation, you have agricultural planes that come in to fly spray crops, you have the fire bosses that are to put out the forest fires, you have recreational, you have we've had helicopters stop that are doing construction. They're the big ones that are putting the antennas on top of 70-floor buildings and so forth. So you've got all these different types of aviation, and then within that, you've got all these different types of careers. You can be the pilot, but you might really like aviation, but you hate roller coasters, and so you don't want to be a pilot. So there's the mechanics. There's a huge shortage of mechanics. There's the air traffic controllers, which we talked about is a great career. It's like playing a very stressful video game all day long and getting paid good money for it. You've got, with the airlines, you got all the ground crew, the baggage handlers, you got the dispatchers, you've got the National Weather Service, you've got just people around here, emergency management operations and the Michigan State Police and the DNR. They all have drones that they use for different types of activity in their jobs. So that's another aspect of where you can go into aviation by being a drone pilot. So there's so many different things, and all we want to do is raise that awareness level with kids so that we can spark that little fire in them and get them motivated to head that way.
So, taking it from the career and technical education standpoint, and we are trying to find careers for our teenagers that will keep them in town, or at the very least give them an income that will allow them to support their families. In a lot of the CTC areas that we're putting our students into, there are older folks who are retiring, and there's not enough people to fill those holes. Is that also what you see going on in aviation?
Oh, most definitely.
Okay.
If you look at the pilots today, first of all, in airlines, there's a mandatory retirement age of 65 for a pilot. So the ones that are coming out now were the Vietnam era military pilots. Well, that the military hasn't been going through pilots like they did in the past. We've been fortunate in that we've been in very few war situations, and we use drones a lot. The Air Force actually flies more unmanned operations than manned operations. So it's changing out there. So there aren't the source of pilots that you could get in the past, or mechanics. So there's definitely a huge need. There isn't the source, and the older ones are retiring, and so there's a major gap. In fact, the last 2 years, there's been a number of flights that have been cut down. The FAA has requested that the airlines reduce the number of their flights, and that's because they don't have enough air traffic controllers. So we need to get more of those types of skills in there so that we can keep the air traffic system moving. And like I say, there's so many different things that kids can do in it, and almost every aspect of it, there's not enough resources to fulfill it.
So you're going to have the planes there. You're going to have the classic cars there, but one of the central reasons for the entire event is to educate the kids.
Right. It's mostly a fun way for the whole family to go out and have fun, and at the same time you kind of sneak it in there that kids are learning all about different careers. So we're doing the career boosts this time. I think we've got 23 of them now this year. We've got a drone zone that we're going to have, like I mentioned before, the Michigan State Police, the Emergency Management Operations Team, Prine and Newhoff, they use it for surveying. They're going to be demonstrating the drones, and so they'll demonstrate the capabilities of these fascinating machines. The emergency management uses it for search and rescue, where they can go up and they have infrared and they can find the heat source so I'm hoping they're going to have some heat source underneath a blanket or something somewhere, and then they can fly over and see that there's something warm under there and identify it. So we're going to have that. We're hopefully going to have discovery stations where you don't learn just about careers, you learn about aviation. What makes a wing lift? How do they number runways? Is there a process to that, a method to that? All different things that kids can learn about aviation. So it's not just about careers, but it's about having fun learning some other stuff.
I love it that, number one, free admission, youth plane rides. So you get to see everything about planes and aviation, all the things, but then there's youth plane rides, lunch available. And you used an acronym, EEAA or something. What is
EAA, Experimental Aircraft Association.
Okay.
There's two real big associations in general aviation. There's EAA, the Experimental Aircraft, and there's AOPA, which is the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. The EAA is focused, its genesis was a group of guys getting together that built experimental aircraft. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing to where it includes just about everything in aviation. Every year they have their Air Venture fly-in or air show over in Oshkosh. And this is the first year in like 10 years. I haven't been able to make it because we've just got so many things going on. But that air show, they get 600, I think this year they had 637,000 people attend and 10,000 aircraft fly into it. It's the world's busiest tower for 1 week. And so then the FAA kind of has a little challenge, and they take the best air traffic controllers from across the country, and they get to go to Oshkosh for the week and be the air traffic controllers for the event.
Best of the best. It's like Top Gun for air traffic control. So, I was thinking about you having the plane, which, again, we've never seen that before. There's a block party in downtown Cadillac, and Keith brings a plane to the block party. But this captain from JetBlue, you're all birds of a feather. I mean, pun intended. You all are so passionate about aviation that you all want to talk about it with one another. Yes. And then you're all learning. And how cool that, she just saw the plane and came up and then just casually mentioned that she happens to be a captain with JetBlue.
Yes.
And so now little girls are going to be running around, wings and wheels, and they're going to get to meet this lady.
Yes.
And hear about her journey. And that might inspire somebody.
Oh, I hope it does.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it will. I spoke at the Cadillac Area Book Club. And so when she was walking downtown, she said, "Excuse me, were you the person that spoke at the book club?" And I said, "Well, did you like it?"
Depends on if you liked it or not, right?
And
it was me.
She said yes, and I said, "Yeah, I'm the one." And so then we started the conversation, and you could just see she does have a true passion for aviation, and so and she really, really wants to give back to all the young girls in the world to show that this is a good career path for them.
Can we take at least a few minutes and talk about what happened at the airport to where it was like around the middle of June, the air race? It
Yes.
was all female pilots.
Yes.
Can we talk about that? Because
Sure.
I don't know that Katie knew about that.
Okay.
You and I sat together at the chamber dinner and we talked about this, and I thought it was
What
fascinating.
air race? I want to hear about this.
So there was the Air Race Classic that takes place every year. This was its 49th running of the air race, and the first one was in 1929, at least what led up to this series. And Amelia Earhart was actually one of the pilots in that race, and so every year they select a course that goes across the country in some way, shape, or fashion. Unfortunately, this year it started in Carbondale, Illinois, went to LaPorte, Indiana, then up to Cadillac. We were the second stop, and then down to Newark, Ohio, near Columbus. And then from there they headed west and ended up in Colorado. So there were 49 aircraft that registered. 47 actually completed the whole race, and it's all female crews. You have to have at least 2 pilots. So there was 2. There was one that they had 3 people on it, and the third one, the lady had done this race before. She was 95 years old.
No way. That's incredible.
It was just fantastic. They all flew in, and we thought, well, they'll fly in, get fuel, and head off. Well, they flew in, and the weather was, had a little of this, a little of that. So then they were trying. There's a lot of strategy that goes into this, because if the winds are coming from the west, you don't want to be flying west during that portion, so you might want to wait a day, and their winds are from the east. Now they're at your tail, and you're going faster. So we had 20 aircraft stay overnight, and so then we had already worked out with Wex Express what we were going to do with, if we had any pilots that stayed, and they just stepped up to it. Wex Express was fantastic. They took all the pilots to the hotels that they wanted to go to, and then all the pilots wanted to go to restaurants, and so it just turned out to be a great thing. And we all the local people enjoyed it. We had a number of people that came down to watch, and the pilots all seemed to have a great time, and so it was a great event. Unfortunately, they select a different course every year, so we probably won't be on that list to do it again for probably decades. But we got our chance, and we made the most of it.
Well, you made a splash. You got them all over town spending money
Oh,
and eating
yeah.
here and staying here. And, I'm chuckling as you're talking about them staying, because a very close friend of mine is a pilot, University of North Dakota pilot. And she is the best packer I've ever met, because pilots pack light. And she's one of those people, she can pack 2 pairs of shoes for a week. Most ladies, when you're on vacation, that's no bueno. Yep. We like a different pair of shoes for it. Well, we do, Rich. He's looking at me skeptically. But I'm just telling you, I'll say, can we have packing lessons? Because she doesn't even need to check a bag. She can carry a bag for a week-long trip, for crying out loud. That's unheard of.
I'd like to just mention one other thing, because I know we're running short on time. A week ago, we had a summer aviation camp where we had a dozen kids that enrolled, and they came to the airport. This was the first time we've done it, but they were there every day for a week, and then at the end, we got the Young Eagles flights to take them up, which we'll have the Young Eagles again at Wings and Wheels. We're also going to have a helicopter that will be giving rides for a minimum donation, and so we've got a lot of new things going on this year that makes it even better.
Are you planning on doing that again next summer?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so parents, if you've got kids who are interested in aviation, pay close attention to this.
Who's the helicopter pilot?
Well, it's a gentleman that has a helicopter that's at the airport, and he was there last year. He had his helicopter on display, and he was lifting kids in and out of the the helicopter all morning long, and it was just great to see. I mean, he just loves aviation. He loves giving back to the community. So
now he's going to give kids rides this time.
yes. So it's Bill Paul is the pilot of it.
Okay.
And so
Awesome.
he's just wonderful. And it's just an example of all the tenants we have at Wexford Airport, how great they are.
While we are waiting for flying objects to fly over top of us as we are driving down the road at ground level, let's talk about Wings and Wheels one more time.
Yes.
Who, what, when, why, where, and go right ahead.
Okay. So Wings and Wheels will be next Saturday from the 24th from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. You'll have your pancake breakfast. Oh, it's free admission and free parking. If you happen to get a flyer, you can use that to get a discounted rate on your even low rate that you get already to get in. So then we've got the pancake breakfast. We will have some sort of lunch, probably some truck there that will be, you can get a bite to eat for lunch. We'll have all of the classic cars. We'll have all of the career booths. We'll have the drone zone, which will have periodic flights. We'll have the young kids from 8 to 17. We'll get the Young Eagles flights. We'll have the helicopter flights. And we'll have discovery stations. And we just can't wait to see what we're going to do for next year.
You are inspiring a young, the younger generation to take flight. Literally. So I love it.
Well, hopefully that's what we're doing. And, Saturday will be a great example of what we can do and see what the reaction is with the kids.
Where can folks interact with you online?
We have the Wexford County Facebook page, and so the flyer is posted up there, and you can get more information. Or if they want to send me an email, they can send me an email at manager@wexfordcountyairport.com. And I'll try to get back to them as quick as possible.
Katie, let's not wait until next year for visit number 4 for Mr. Newell.
Exactly. I mean, I just get so excited about everything that he's doing. You're going to grow some pilots out of your airport, Keith.
Well, hopefully. And then we, got the amateur radio thing with Santa Claus again this year. We can talk about that later in the year.
We got to bring him on for that.
All right,
that's huge.
Come on back. Keith Newell, our guest. He is the manager of the Wexford County Airport, where there are many, many fun things happening, including a week from today, Wings and Wheels. And that will do it for Cadillac Unscripted this week. Join us next week when our scheduled guest will be Superintendent Jennifer Brown talking about back to school at CAPS on 107.9 CDY.